Katelyn Tuohy announced on Instagram that she has signed an NIL deal, a name, image, likeness deal with Adidas, which is one of the first NIL deals for a shoe sponsor for running since the rule was created a year ago.
NIL stuff,
We started talking about this, like, oh, Oregon is now just going to have a bunch of Nike athletes, right? Because they can do NIL deals. And all these different schools are going to be able to recruit by saying, like, hey, stay in school for 4 years. Grant Holloway would have been an Adidas athlete or I guess what is a Nike school? Are they a Nike school?
Nike, yeah.
Yeah. Grant Holloway would have been a Nike athlete for 3 years or whatever. Katelyn Tuohy's the first one to do this. And it gets people thinking, like, what does this mean for, one, Katelyn? What does it mean for collegiate sports? And what does it mean for future pro contracts out there? I think it's cool, one, and it makes sense. What's your first initial thoughts, though, on Katelyn Tuohy having an NIL deal?
Well, I thought back to all the discussion, the speculation that was surrounding the initial NIL
Like, we
fervor.
thought Cole Hawker wouldn't go pro because of it.
Yeah, he's going to stay in school. What's the point of going pro? Just sign with Nike, and then you get all the benefits of college while also getting a pro contract. I mean, there's still so much you don't know, and there's still so much that you don't know how big this is going to get.
Yeah.
Right? Running is different than other sports because the thing that differentiates an amateur runner from a professional runner, track athlete, is a sponsorship deal with a shoe company. It's not the same as a basketball player or a football player signing a deal with an apparel company or a shoe company, but then not being on a professional basketball or football team. This is the thing that makes you
a professional
runner. So it's a little bit different. And I know a lot of this was in flux because shoe companies were trying to figure out different states had different laws of how NIL applied. So this was just a big kind of question mark for a lot of people going forward. I still think this sort of thing is going to be reserved for the superstars of the sport. I still think people are going to get other NIL deals that we've seen, right, from companies that are not shoe companies, not mega brands like that, or maybe mega brands, but just not shoe companies. But I just don't know how big it's gonna get to this level. And the Hawker thing, I know it was early on, but ultimately he still decided to go pro, right? Now maybe that was because Nike was still trying to figure out the best way to allocate resources, and maybe we're going to see that change in the near future. But if you're a fan, if you like NCAA running, I think you'd like this because it means the chances of people staying a little longer are going to go up. How much up? We don't know yet, but at least incrementally it's going to go up.
Yeah. First thing I thought about this is I always think about like the business side of it. Like, why would Adidas do this? Because Adidas already is going to have their logo on Tuohy's jersey. Tuohy's going to be already running in Adidas spikes and cross country spikes. Like, all the photos that she's going to take with her team are going to be having Adidas logo everywhere. So the exposure of Adidas isn't really going that much up by signing an NIL deal with an already Adidas collegiate athlete, right?
Yeah, I would guess the benefit, though, is you further the relationship in hopes that when they sign the pro deal later on, they'd be more likely to sign with that same partner.
Yeah.
In the same way, isn't bowling sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts or something?
Yeah.
Right? Like the idea being like, okay, if he goes pro, right, and it's a big deal.
But
like
people talk about that. It's a relationship building thing. Like, it's all about the relationship. If Tuohy is going to be like, hey, Adidas, thanks for giving me the NIL deal money for the past 2 years, but like Nike's going to like 3X your offer. I'm leaving.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm just saying they probably see it through that perspective, right? And they probably, she's going to do appearances and things like that, right? She can post about it, like now, so there's value in it now. I just think these ones are different than the other ones where it's like, everybody's seen those like, the quarterback has this deal with a car dealership, right? Or someone has a ginormous social media following on TikTok. So then they get a sponsorship deal with something that's not as heavily related and linked into the sport itself. That's what I'm saying. With track and cross country, it's just different because that's the primary way you go pro is by joining or by signing a deal with a shoe company. Yeah,
I think it's awesome for Katelyn Tuohy that she's able to make money in college this way that
100%.
so many other greats that were the Katelyn Tuohy equivalent of years past, like the Chesereks and you know the Jenny Simpsons and all that, like they didn't get to do what she's doing. So it's awesome that she kind of struck while the iron's hot.